Syria, a country once known for its rich history and vibrant culture, has been ravaged by a brutal civil war for over a decade. This nation, which once stood as a beacon of ancient civilization and modern progress, now lies in ruins, its cities and towns bearing the scars of relentless conflict. Since 2011, the nation has been embroiled in a conflict that has torn apart its social fabric and left its infrastructure in ruins. The war has not only destroyed buildings and roads, but has also shattered the lives of countless individuals who once called Syria their home. The conflict, sparked by protests against the government, quickly escalated into a multifaceted war involving various factions, foreign powers, and extremist groups. What began as a call for political reform soon spiraled into a complex and deadly struggle for control, with each faction vying for dominance and survival. The consequences of this conflict are devastating, with widespread displacement, countless casualties, and a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions. Families have been torn apart, children have been orphaned, and entire communities have been uprooted, forced to seek refuge in overcrowded camps or foreign lands. The conflict has left an indelible mark on Syria, transforming its ancient cities into battlegrounds and displacing millions of its people. The rich cultural heritage that once drew tourists from around the world now lies in ruins, a testament to the destructive power of war. The echoes of gunfire and the specter of violence have replaced the once familiar sounds of laughter and daily life. Streets that were once bustling with activity are now eerily silent, save for the occasional sound of conflict that serves as a grim reminder of the ongoing strife. The Surya Jamila, the beautiful Syria that once welcomed visitors with open arms, is now a shadow of its former self, struggling to survive under the weight of war and destruction. The vibrant markets, historic sites, and warm hospitality that characterize Syria are now memories, overshadowed by the harsh realities of conflict. The Syrian conflict is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of violence. It underscores the importance of dialogue, understanding, and the need for a concerted effort to restore harmony in a land torn apart by war. It is a tragedy that has touched the lives of millions, leaving behind a legacy of pain, loss, and uncertainty. The stories of those who have suffered are a poignant reminder of the human cost of conflict and the urgent need for compassion and support from the global community. As we delve deeper into the realities of traveling to Syria in the midst of this conflict, it is crucial to remember the human cost of this war and the urgent need for peace and stability in the region. The risks are immense and the challenges are numerous, but the resilience and strength of the Syrian people offer a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. The international community continues to grapple with the complexities of the Syrian crisis, seeking ways to alleviate the suffering and find a lasting solution. Diplomatic efforts, humanitarian aid, and peace talks are ongoing, but the road to recovery is long and fraught with obstacles. However, until peace prevails, Syria remains a land scarred by conflict, a stark warning against the devastating consequences of war, and a reminder of the importance of diplomacy and understanding in a fractured world. The hope for a brighter future lies in the hands of those who continue to strive for peace, justice, and reconciliation. The Syrian conflict's impact on human life is staggering. The war, which began in 2011, has left an indelible mark on the country and its people. The scale of devastation is almost unimaginable, with entire cities reduced to rubble and countless lives disrupted. According to the United Nations, over 500,000 people have been killed, a number that continues to rise as the conflict drags on. These figures, however, only tell part of the story. Behind each statistic is a human being, a family, a community that has been forever changed. Millions more have been displaced, seeking refuge in neighboring countries and beyond. The exodus of refugees has created a crisis of its own, with host countries struggling to provide for the influx of people in need. Refugee camps are often overcrowded and under-resourced, leading to further suffering. The conflict has created one of the worst humanitarian crises in recent history, with families torn apart, homes destroyed, and access to basic necessities like food, water, and healthcare severely limited. The infrastructure of the country has been decimated, making it difficult for aid organizations to deliver much-needed assistance. The statistics paint a grim picture of the situation in Syria. The numbers are staggering, but they fail to capture the full extent of the human suffering. Each number represents a person who has lost their home, their loved ones, or their sense of security. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a UK-based monitoring group, estimates that over 500,000 people have been killed since the start of the conflict. This figure includes both combatants and civilians, highlighting the indiscriminate nature of the violence. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, reports that over 6.6 million Syrians are internally displaced within the country, living in makeshift shelters and struggling to survive. These internally displaced persons face numerous challenges, including lack of access to clean water, sanitation, and medical care. Another 5.6 million have fled to neighboring countries like Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, and beyond. These refugees often face harsh conditions and limited opportunities, making it difficult for them to rebuild their lives. The strain on host countries is immense, as they try to accommodate the needs of the refugees while managing their own resources. These numbers represent individual lives shattered, families torn apart, and a generation marked by the horrors of war. The emotional and psychological toll on the Syrian people is profound, with many experiencing trauma and loss that will take years, if not decades, to heal. The conflict has had a profound impact on children, many of whom have known nothing but violence and displacement. These children are growing up in an environment of fear and uncertainty, with their futures hanging in the balance. UNICEF estimates that over 2.4 million Syrian children are out of school, their education disrupted, and their futures uncertain. The lack of access to education not only affects their immediate well-being, but also has long-term implications for the country's recovery and development. The human cost of the Syrian conflict is immeasurable, extending far beyond the numbers. It encompasses the loss of culture, the breakdown of communities, and the erosion of hope. The resilience of the Syrian people in the face of such adversity is remarkable, but the road to recovery is long and fraught with challenges. It is a tragedy that continues to unfold, with each passing day adding to the suffering and loss. The international community must not turn a blind eye to the plight of the Syrian people. Continued support and solidarity are essential to help them rebuild their lives and their country. As we explore the safety concerns and risks associated with traveling to Syria, it is essential to keep in mind the ongoing humanitarian crisis and the devastating impact the conflict has had on the Syrian people. The journey to peace and stability is a collective responsibility, and every effort must be made to alleviate the suffering and support the recovery of this war-torn nation. Traveling to Syria in the current climate is incredibly dangerous. The ongoing civil war has created an environment where safety is a constant concern, and the risks are numerous and severe. The country is rife with threats, including kidnapping, armed robbery, and indiscriminate violence. These dangers are not just limited to specific areas, but can occur anywhere, making it difficult for travelers to find a truly safe haven. The presence of various armed groups, some with extremist ideologies, further exacerbates these risks. These groups often operate with impunity, and their unpredictable nature adds another layer of danger for anyone traveling through the region. The lack of a functioning central authority in many areas means there's no guarantee of safety or protection for travelers, even in areas perceived as relatively stable. Law enforcement is virtually non-existent in many parts of the country, leaving travelers vulnerable to a myriad of threats. The risks are not limited to active conflict zones. Even in areas where fighting has subsided, the threat of unexploded ordnance, landmines, and sporadic violence persists. These hidden dangers can turn a seemingly peaceful area into a deadly trap. Unexploded ordnance and landmines are a constant threat, remnants of past conflicts that can cause harm long after the fighting has stopped. Travelers must be extremely cautious and aware of their surroundings at all times. Kidnapping for ransom remains a serious concern, particularly for foreign nationals, who are often seen as valuable targets by criminal gangs and extremist groups. These kidnappings can be violent and traumatic, with victims sometimes held for extended periods. The U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 travel advisory for Syria, the highest level of warning, urging citizens not to travel to the country due to civil unrest, terrorism, kidnapping, and armed conflict. This advisory underscores the extreme risks involved in traveling to Syria. The advisory highlights the risk of being detained or arbitrarily arrested by government security forces, particularly journalists, humanitarian workers, and individuals suspected of having ties to opposition groups. These detentions can be lengthy and without due process, adding another layer of risk. It is crucial to remember that the security situation in Syria is fluid and unpredictable. Conditions can change rapidly, and what might seem like a safe area one day could quickly become a conflict zone the next. What might seem like a safe area one day could quickly become a conflict zone the next. This unpredictability makes it extremely challenging to plan safe travel routes or find secure accommodations. The lack of reliable information and the ever-present danger make it impossible to guarantee the safety of travelers in any part of the country. Misinformation and rapidly changing conditions mean that even the best laid plans can quickly become obsolete, leaving travelers in precarious situations.